It's Chuck from the band Simple Plan, and you're checking out Instant Mood Improver.
Put a pep in your step, turn your frown upside down, make it more fun to be around. Instant Mood Improver, Instant Mood Improver, Instant Mood Improver. The songs that make you feel happy again.
G'day everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Instant Mood Improver, a happy music podcast. The podcast where we talk to people all about the songs that instantly improve their mood the moment they hear it and make this miserable existence a little bit more enjoyable, if only for 3 minutes. Today's guest is none other than Chuck.
Simple Plan.
Chuck from Simple Plan.
It's okay.
This conversation is all about the song that instantly improves your mood the moment you hear it. So Chuck, what song instantly improves your mood the moment you hear it?
Well, there's a lot, but one of them that came to mind, because I just heard the question now, was Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a classic, can't go wrong with the Beatles, any Beatles song, but the reason why is because I listen to it constantly with my son in the car. He's a huge fan of the Beatles, and everywhere we go to school or wherever we go, he always wants me to play that song. So when I hear it, it reminds me of those times in the car, and it's like instantaneous, you know. And I would say if I would add one more that's more like in our wheelhouse of what you would expect us to say, I would go and say Going Away to College by Blink-182. I think that's my favorite song of all time, I think. So when I hear that, boom, right away.
That's awesome. Two great choices.
Yeah.
Two completely different ballparks in terms of the
True.
sound. But both I can see how they would be instant mood improving qualities. What do you think it is about these particular tracks that that ties them together as songs that that inspire joy in you?
I think it's the melodies are just kind of just unforgettable. They're just so memorable, so catchy, and just there's something about the chords and the way that it just lifts you up. You know, it just feels. I mean, the Blink one is definitely a bit more like. Is not so happy, like, per se, but there's something, like, I don't know, it feels, like, very emotional, but in a good way, like, it's kind of a little, like, melancholy, like, a little bit, but not too much where it's too sad. It's just kind of perfect amount. And the Beatles, it really literally feels like you're seeing the sunrise. Like, it just feels like they've captured exactly in music what the lyrics are saying, you know. It's kind of like, just feels very hopeful, full of joy. Yeah, really beautiful.
Both solid choices, I would say personally. And in terms of the role they play in your life, is music something that you do use for regulating your moods in that manner?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, it's interesting. I think when you're in a band and you write music and it's really your life, it changes your relationship with songs and music in general a little bit. Like, I find that I don't listen to as much music as I used to, maybe when I was younger. And it's because it's hard for me to listen to a song without right away going into, like, trying to analyze, okay, why did they do that? Do I like it? Is it great? Like, oh, I wish I wrote that. Like, this is so good. Like, it's inspiring. And it's hard for me to casually listen to something and not go into, like, all right, I need to, like, think about why they did what they did and all. You know what I mean? So that's a little tricky. But I do use it. I find that, especially, like, it's interesting. When you're really happy, you want to hear, like, happy music. And when you're sad, you kind of want that like, you would think it's counterintuitive. You would want the opposite. But I find that if you're feeling sad, it's kind of helpful to go in and double down on the sadness, right? It's sort of like it helps. Maybe it's because you feel understood. Maybe it's because you feel like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. It's a common human experience. We all go through it. Maybe there's that. I don't know, but definitely I find that it can be really helpful to get you out of the fun, to actually listen to just really sad music.
I can relate to that. And I think a lot of people probably can. And I think a lot of fans of your band would be able to relate to that too, because I'd imagine you've had conversations with fans through your career telling you that songs like Perfect and I'm Just a Kid have had that influence in their lives. Welcome to My Life.
Yeah, definitely. We hear that a lot. I think it's probably one of the reasons why the career that we have has been, like for, I think the reason why we didn't become like a band that had like only kind of like superficial fan base that wasn't really super into the band and kind of just like into songs was because we wrote songs like Perfect, and because we wrote songs like Welcome to My Life or Untitled or This Song's Like My Life or Save You, like songs that were, I think it really changed because like we have our fun song, like you got like a song like I'd Do Anything or like Addicted, which is a bit more, fun. Like it's an uplifting, fun song, and there's nothing wrong with those. I think they're great. But when you're a band and on your albums or your catalog, you have songs that hit a bit deeper, that are a bit more, I don't want to say meaningful, but they have a bit more, maybe, I don't know, just a bit more depth, maybe. I don't know. I think it really does create a difference because it really connects. Then it's not just like, oh, that band is fun, whatever. Like they understand me. They know what I'm going through. It becomes part of their identity as fans. Like that band really captures how I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and everything. And I think that changed everything for us. Like when we first put out Perfect, we became a different band in people's eyes. Like I think that, and it influenced us because we realized how powerful these songs were. And on the second record, we wanted to have a song that had the same impact, so we wrote Untitled. And then on the third album, same thing, we wrote Save You because we were like, okay, we know how important these songs are to our fans, and we wanted to write something that would, on every album, that would be able to connect in a really deep way with our fan base. So I think it in a way it changed the band when we realized how powerful music can be and how much of an impact it can have on people's lives.
It's so nice to hear, and it's nice to hear somebody have this deeper perspective on the role that their own music has played in other people's lives, and still being able to keep it within. Like a lot of bands, when they get a bit older or a bit further in, they get a bit jaded about the whole process. And seeing you on this tour and seeing how you're speaking now and seeing your interactions with your fans, it's quite uplifting to me as a human to see people that are still fully switched on.
It would be hard to feel jaded because we interact with the fans a lot. We have like 3 different meet and greets during the whole day. And anytime somebody sees us at the airport or at the hotel or wherever we are on the street, they come up and they talk to us and they share these stories. And sometimes, like I said, like it's kind of shocking to see how much music can be like a lifeline, when people are struggling and they share and they feel compelled to share these stories, and they're really moving. Lots, like sometimes, like literally, like you're like, okay, oh my God, I cannot believe that our music had like a part to play in somebody's life like that. Like it's really impressive to see how much people can, how much music can really be there for people and really help them. Like truly, not just like, oh, like you hear that, but like you hear these stories and you're like, how can you not be moved by that? Like it's something you wrote, you had no idea how people would perceive it, whatever. And then you get to hear that. And it's just kind of like, it changes, at least for me, it changed my whole perception of what we do. And it's interesting because my dad told me the same thing. It was like, oh, when we first started out, he was like, what do you mean you're going to be in a band? Like, what kind of service is that going to do? What is that going to, how much is that going to make the world better? And then he started opening up all their fan letters and seeing how much of an impact it was having. I think it really opened up his eyes, and he kind of started to realize, like, wow, there's more going on than just like selling a T-shirt or selling a ticket. There's a deeper relationship, right? And that's when he kind of challenged us and said, okay, that's really great that you guys are doing that, but what else can you do? And that's when we started the foundation. So the Simple Plan Foundation became a way to go beyond just having an impact with our music, but go even more directly to help fans and help people. And that was his idea. So yeah.
That's so cool. Like getting the parents on side, that's really like cool. The hardest part about being a musician. As one myself, I can attest to that. Thankfully, I have quite supportive parents, and it sounds like you do now. But that whole concept of music being able to have this profoundly positive impact on other human beings is the whole purpose of this podcast. So it's nice to hear that come up, because that's definitely been my experience as a human being, is that the bands got me through a lot of stuff, and it happens to a lot of people. So it's nice to see that you have that perspective as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, the same thing happened to me when I was a kid. When I listened to bands, you know, like when you're going through a breakup, or you're going through like a difficult moment as a teenager, and you're trying to explain to your parents why you want to be in a band, and that's how we wrote Perfect, literally. Like, we had a conversation, and they were very supportive of us doing it as a hobby, but it was difficult for them, and I understand, because we're from Montreal. Like, there was never a rock band that came out and did what we did, you know, so it was hard to imagine, I think, for them. Like, this could be like a real job. Like, this could be like, it wasn't just like a little thing on the side, right? So we had a big fight, and then we wrote Perfect, and it was so cathartic. It helped so much to put it out in a song, you know. And then we would hear other bands, and it would help to hear what they had to say. And at the time, I remember thinking, like, Perfect is way too personal. Nobody will relate to it. It's our experience. Like, there's no way that this can apply to other people. But what we've learned with this song is that in the songwriting process, the more honest you are, and the more personal you get, and the more specific sometimes you get. Because when you try to write like the big universal song, it falls flat usually. But if you're more specific, and you're actually like really digging in from your own life experiences, even though it is a bit specific, people take it and they use it and they apply it to their own lives. And the song actually connects way more, because people can feel it's genuine, can feel it's heartfelt, can feel it's true, it's honest, it's coming from a real place, you know? So I think that's what happened with that song, and luckily with a lot of the songs that we did in our band, like, people could see that, hey, it came from our lives, but it's like its meaning could be applied to so many different situations.
That's so nice to hear. Now, touching back on the songs you chose for Instant Mood Improver here, do you remember the first time you heard these two songs? And if so, did they instantly make you happy?
I don't know if I remember the first time I heard the Beatles song, but I remember the first time I heard it again, like after years and years. And it was, like, again, just in the car with my son. I was like, I need to play him good music, and it's my responsibility to, like, show him, you know, good songs. And for a while, he didn't want to listen to anything else in Simple Plan. And I felt good. I was like, okay, I need to expand his horizons. And the Beatles was the perfect choice. So I remember playing it, and then that song came on. And I was like, whoa. I remember vaguely hearing it like years and years ago, but hearing it again in that new context was like, whoa, this is like an amazing song. I think it's because of Spotify, because on Spotify, I think it's their most streamed song, the Beatles. So it was like, oh, I'll play that right. And it was like right away, like, whoa. This song is like perfect, incredible, so good. And Blink, I remember because I got a good story. We were friends with Blink from before, like when we had our first band called Reset. We played shows when they were called Blink. So like I'm talking like 97, 98, a long time ago, before they had, like, they only had one record. Like, they had Cheshire Cat, that's pretty much what they had. So no hits, no major label, no nothing. We had played shows and we became friends. Anyways, fast forward years later, we went to see Blink again, and they were about to release like Enema of the State, maybe 3-4 months before. And Mark gave me like an advanced copy of the album, saying like, hey, check this out, let me know what you think. And at the time, there was no internet. It was on the CD, a burned CD. Like, it was like watermark, like you couldn't leak it anywhere and everything. But it was quite a privilege to get it ahead, right, of everyone else. And I went home that night after we hung out, and I put it on, and I remember hearing it back to back, and I remember hearing that song, and I was like, this record's going to change everything in our scene. It's going to be the biggest record of all time. And that song just kind of particularly just stood out. And I'm so bummed that they never released it as a single, because I think it could have been massive. But yeah, I just knew right away. I mean, it wasn't hard to see, but you could tell that there was just something magical about it, and it was going to be like one of those records that I would listen to until I'm extremely old. Yeah, and it turned out to be true. Like, it's probably 99, so 25 years now, and I think it still stands up. It's timeless,
That's awesome. Unfortunately, this interview isn't timeless, so we do need to get rolling. It's been wonderful talking to you today. Customary thing for us to do here before we leave is to tell everyone that Simple Plan are in Australia, and they are playing shows. There are very scarce tickets left for this tour. If you can pick one up, do yourself a favour and grab one, because it's an excellent package tour, and people are going to have a blast. As we are exiting, we are going to play you these songs that Chuck has chosen here, which were?
It was Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, classic, and it was Going Away to College by Blink-182.
And I'm going to play you the first song I ever sung in public, in front of people, which is by Simple Plan.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was playing drums in front of 1,300 assholes known as my schoolmates.
Okay,
and my mate froze up on stage, was supposed to sing, did not.
Oh, no.
Pulled the microphone around.
And you sang
Sung the song while
Wow.
playing drums. First time I'd ever sung in front of people.
Wow.
Must have been okay, because that's one of the things I do now for a living. So
Oh, amazing. Wow, you pulled it off, man. What song was it?
it was I'm Just a Kid, and that's what we're going to listen to
Amazing.
right now.
Sick. Really cool.
Thanks for being on Instant Mood Improver.
Of course, man. My pleasure.
No worries.